I know I'm incredibly late to 12 Years a Slave, but I just kept putting off watching it because of how well received it's been. Obviously, it won 3 Oscars. It's the 207th highest rated film on IMDb. Critically acclaimed, the reviewers love it. Was I going to like it? Well, the short answer to that is yes, I did. I very much did. It's very moving. And when you realize there's one scene that really got to me, which I'll discuss near the end. I won't give any spoilers without warning. But once you kind of accept that it's based on a true story, it's quite harrowing. This was released, of course, in 2013, directed by Steve McQueen, with the screenplay by John Ridley, based on the book 12 Years a Slave by Solomon Northup, who is our protagonist. And I'm not going to insult the actor by trying to pronounce his name. It's Chiwetel, and I can't say his surname, and I apologize. I'm bad with surnames in general. I will not try and, make a mess of it, but his performance is just ridiculous. Absolutely astounding, moving, touching. We need to acknowledge that this film won over 200 awards. He didn't win Best Performance by an Actor, and just out of curiosity, I'm going to see who did, because I kind of feel like he should have done. Okay, so that award went to Matthew McConaughey for Dallas Buyers Club. I haven't seen it, I can't comment. But DiCaprio was also up for Wolf of Wall Street. Big year for films. And it does tell us Solomon Northup's story, who was a free man. He's black. I have to point that out just in case you're not obvious. He was obviously sold into slavery, but he was released by his owner, his master. He is a free man living a pretty reasonable quality of life in America. But then he is abducted and sold back into slavery. Obviously, a lot of people don't believe that he was a free man. Not everybody is going to be convinced by that, of course, because I'm sure a lot of people who are captured or held captive are going to try that one. Which, I mean, everybody should be free. It shouldn't even be a question. But obviously, he's held there for 12 years. That's where the title comes from. And it's all about his struggles and, wondering, will he ever be free again? I'm not going to tell you. Now, obviously, it's called 12 Years a Slave, but whether or not he gets free at the end of the 12 years or he dies, I'm not going to tell you, but I will discuss it at the very end with a spoiler warning. I'm touched. I'm moved. It's hard to watch for all the right reasons, because it doesn't sugarcoat anything. He has all these like lances on his back from being whipped, and the makeup. I don't know who did the special effects makeup, but it's incredibly moving and incredibly powerful, and it's hard. It is hard to watch, and I'm not going to pretend otherwise, but I also enjoyed it because of how moving and how, I was going to say motivating it is. I guess it's motivating in the sense that you want to stand up and help people and make sure that people listen to what this time in history was like, because there are still people who deny that it was ever this brutal, which doesn't make any sense to me. It's incredible. It does feel quite like Django Unchained, which is kind of understandable. Very similar story, but even a lot of the shots are quite similar, and the long shots of the house in the field and things. There are some similarities, which isn't really a problem. Obviously, Lupita Nyong'o as Patsey is well, unbelievable. Absolutely, truly incredible. The cast across the board is amazing, both in terms of talent and the actual casting. Brad Pitt is in it, which I didn't actually know before I watched it. I don't know how that information passed me by. Paul Giamatti's in it. Benedict Cumberbatch is in it. He's in everything, but I do like him. Paul Dano, Michael Fassbender. Absolutely fantastic. Very well shot. Very well told as a story. Very moving. It's... The one thing I didn't like about it is there are a lot of slow scenes. For example, there's a close-up of Solomon, and he's just staring out into the distance. and it's beautiful. But this scene lasts for about 3 beats too long, and this happens a lot. There's only one time when I think it's acceptable, and I will again mention that after the spoiler warning. But there are a lot of shots in this that go on for longer than they should do when there's no action on screen and we're just kind of looking at one solitary moment. And while it's important to capture those moments, it goes on for a couple of beats too long, and they probably could have shaved off a good 10 minutes of the film. But ultimately, I really liked it. So, a couple of spoilers from now. Please only listen to me if you've seen the film, because I definitely suggest that you watch it and then come back. So, I can't remember what I said I was going to spoil, but the scenes that really moved me, the one is where the two slaves were hanging dead from the tree. It was... It's not unexpected, because I was expecting that level of brutality, but at the same time, I wasn't ready for it. The other one that really moved me, and this is the one that I feel like still went on a bit longer than it should have done, was when Solomon was hanging from the tree, but his feet were just like stroking the floor and everybody was like moving around him, and basically one sneeze and he was going to kill himself. And the shot just stayed like that for a while, and I know why, but I think it lasted a little bit too long. And the other thing, the only other thing I want to mention is the fact that at the end we had the credits and then the end title cards, and it mentioned that nobody actually knows how Solomon Northup died. And there is speculation that he may have been recaptured and sold back into slavery. There is some speculation that he would have just died of old age at that point. I did read a few places, or at least one place, that said that, by that time in his life, after his last documented, known presence, he would have been too old and of no interest to slave owners, because he wouldn't have been physically fit and able to work in the fields for hours and hours. So I hope, as horrible as this sounds, I hope he just became ill from relatively old age and died peacefully. Because the alternative... I'm getting choked up. I really feel attached to this individual. The film tells his story so well and really allows us to feel like we know this character, or at least this interpretation of this character, this individual, that it's easy to forget it's a true story, but it's also easy to believe it's a true story because it's so detailed and powerful and moving. It took me 8 years to see this film. It was completely worth the wait. 12 Years a Slave is difficult to watch, but absolutely worth it.